start with this. Per tweet from Steve Kim, I was told that Golden Boy is trying to make a fight between Ryan Garcia and Isaac Cruz for March or April. Hats off if they actually get this done. Let's see where this goes. And as strange as this might sound, the selling point for Ryan Garcia's next fight, if it is to be against Isaac Cruz, is Gervonta Davis. What started out as a not pay-per-view worthy matchup, a late replacement with a very unheralded guy, has turned out to be the selling point, the sizzle, as it were, for Ryan's next fight. Because if he does in fact fight Isaac Cruz, the selling point for that fight will be
Davis.
Rating. How Ryan performs against Isaac Cruz as opposed to how Gervonta performed against Isaac Cruz. Was it that Isaac is
good?
That good? Or was it that Gervonta Davis is that basic, that ordinary, that bad?
The selling point for Ryan Garcia versus Isaac Cruz is Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz.
Coupled with Ryan Garcia's ring return. All those guys who all of a sudden formed these high opinions of Isaac Cruz based on how he performed against Gervonta Davis, they're going to have to give Ryan his due.
Oh yeah, they're going to have to if Ryan knocks him out.
They're going to have to give Ryan his just due if he knocks out Isaac Cruz where Gervonta Davis did not, could not.
These are the guys who all of a sudden like Isaac Cruz so much, right?
Gervonta Davis fans, these are the guys that'll tell you that Isaac Cruz is the best thing smoking.
Best thing on two legs.
That's why Gervonta couldn't knock him out. Well, if Ryan knocks him out where Gervonta could not...
You guys are going to have to give Ryan a lot of credit.
Thoughts on Davis versus Cruz as an event, as a card. It wouldn't have been so bad if it were on regular Showtime as opposed to billing it as a pay-per-view. It wouldn't have been as bad if it were more accessible to the fight fans as opposed to putting a fight with a late replacement behind a paywall. Who are you expecting to buy that?
There was no build-up to an Isaac Cruz fight. He was a late replacement.
No build-up, no backstory. For a lot of people, that was the first time they saw Isaac Cruz in action. Funny thing about it is, that wasn't a big fight. Mike Coppinger, eerily tight-lipped about what that fight did, how it performed on pay-per-view. Better still, Davis versus Cruz wasn't a big fight, whereas as a result of that fight, that wasn't a big fight, Ryan Garcia versus Isaac Cruz is a big fight. Gervonta Davis that night, he introduced the world to Isaac Cruz. Isaac Cruz, who backed up the tank, as it were. That's what they call Gervonta Davis. They call him Tank. I've never seen a tank back up that much. Never seen a Tank backpedal for 12 rounds.
Because of Tank, now we know who Isaac Cruz is.
But because it was Tank, we don't actually know how good Isaac Cruz is, since neither Isaac Cruz or Tank have faced the who's who guys in the lightweight division. Need I remind you that Gervonta Davis has only fought at lightweight 2 times. One of those fights was the Isaac Cruz fight. The other was the Yuriorkis Gamboa fight that went 12 rounds before Gervonta Davis stopped him. See, you want to say that you've seen Isaac Cruz in there with at least one puncher, that one puncher being Gervonta Davis. The problem is we don't know how big a puncher Gervonta Davis is at lightweight because he's only fought there 2 times. It took him 12 rounds to stop a one-legged Yuriorkis Gamboa, and he couldn't stop Isaac. He couldn't stop him at all.
So maybe Gervonta's a bigger puncher at 130 than he is at 135.
And perhaps that's why the very unheralded Isaac Cruz was able to go the distance with him. Will he be able to go the distance with Ryan Garcia? Well, if he doesn't...
Here's one, yeah.
This is a better fight than Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz for 2 reasons. 2 reasons primarily, maybe 3. It's a better fight because now we know a little bit more about Isaac Cruz. A lot of people hadn't seen him before that Gervonta Davis fight, so there's that. The second reason is it's Ryan's ring return. Him having not been all that busy this year, there is some anticipation to see him get back in there next year. And the third reason is...
Step behind a paywall.
Not a big one, anyway. Granted that everything costs. There's no such thing as a free lunch. In order to see this fight, you're likely going to have to get a DAZN subscription, at least for that month, assuming you don't have one already. But even if you do have to get a DAZN subscription for that month, that subscription for that month costs less than what you would have paid to see Davis versus Cruz. For those of you out there who don't have a DAZN subscription, you don't have an annual one like me or even a monthly one, a little old DAZN subscription ain't going to cost you but $19. Whereas, for those of you out there who actually bought Davis versus Cruz, that costed $74.99, roughly $75.
That's a little more than 3 times more what a DAZN subscription costs.
3 times as much money for anybody that actually bought Gervonta Davis versus Isaac Cruz, though if I'm being honest, nobody bought that fucking fight. Not even Gervonta Davis's fans.
They fired up the fire sticks and streamed that goddamn fight.
And if they didn't watch it by way of an illegal stream on Fire Stick, they likely watched it by way of an illegal stream on the internet. Either way, that fight didn't do no numbers.
Well, I think some people watched it. I just don't think many people bought it.
I didn't buy that fucking shit. Back to the point. The three things that make this fight an attractive fight is that it's going to be Ryan's big ring return. We're going to get to find out a little more about Isaac Cruz, and
It's not behind a paywall.
or as big a paywall, I should say, as Davis versus Cruz was.
As far as the fight itself.
Preliminary thoughts. Ryan Garcia has a height advantage, obvious height advantage, reach advantage. Isaac Cruz is on the smaller, much smaller end of the spectrum as far as lightweights go. Durability, it's hard to gauge because Isaac Cruz hasn't been in there with the top guys, the really top level, top shelf fighters at lightweight. He's only really faced Gervonta Davis in terms of noteworthy opponents, but Gervonta hasn't faced very many, if any, noteworthy opponents at lightweight. So Ryan's got a height advantage, an obvious height advantage, obvious reach advantage, speed advantage.
Ryan a bigger puncher than Isaac.
We really don't know, though. You could give Ryan the edge in power because he stopped a lot of guys at lightweight. He has. Luke Campbell was the last one, and Luke Campbell is a pretty proven guy at lightweight. Isaac, I think, is more durable than Ryan. I think Isaac can deal with a hard shot a little better than Ryan, though it's purely anecdotal, since, I reiterate, Isaac hasn't faced the top shelf guys, the really top guys at lightweight. In some ways, Ryan hasn't either, though did fight Luke Campbell, and Luke Campbell has proven it this way. So when you put that all together in a pot, what you might get is a situation where Ryan Garcia's chin, which has come under question since he was dropped by Luke Campbell, his chin might be a little bit hard for Isaac Cruz to get to. Isaac's got to close the gap. He's got to get close to Ryan before he can land anything. That might prove difficult to do since Ryan might fight behind his jab, fire straight shots from the outside, looking to set Isaac up for something big, the way he did Francisco Fonseca when he knocked him out off that counter left hook. He'll be looking to land that hook on Isaac, who has to lunge in order to land any shots, any punches.
Ryan's going to use his length and use his speed.
I think we can give Isaac Cruz the edge in durability, perhaps stamina as well. Isaac is from Mexico City, Mexico. That's high altitude. It's hard to breathe up there, but that's where Isaac comes from.
These guys up there got good gas tanks.
So you give Ryan the edge in height, edge in reach, edge in speed, maybe power, edge in durability, edge in stamina to Isaac Cruz, who's going to come forward in that peekaboo guard, looking to pressure Ryan Garcia, who's going to fight behind straight shots, moving around, looking to set Isaac up for something big. It's an interesting fight.
But before we get into who wins this thing, let's let these guys make the goddamn fight.
In welterweight news, got the official poster for the upcoming Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios welterweight contest set to go down February 5th, early next year. And, you know, I don't know what this thing's going to do in the open market. I don't know how it's going to perform. I don't know what kind of buys it's going to bring in, if any.
You have two fighters coming off of losses as the main event.
A quasi-retired fighter in Keith Thurman, and a guy who got knocked out at 140 pounds, now moving up to 147 pounds. I mean, the basic idea with pay-per-views is that you build the fighter up to the point to where you put him on pay-per-view, using the momentum that...
It would have helped if Mario Barrios didn't get knocked out in his very last fight.
What's the undercard look like? What do you got there? Leo Santa Cruz? Leo Santa Cruz versus Carbajal. Who's Carbajal?
Because nobody's excited about Leo.
He's almost as inactive as Keith Thurman. Leo Santa Cruz hasn't fought all of this year. He hasn't fought since late last year when he was stopped by Gervonta Davis. And these are the guys that are supposed to sell this card?
With what momentum?
I already talked about why I think a card like this, that doesn't belong on pay-per-view, I already talked about how I think it ended up on pay-per-view, so I'm not going to get into all of that again. The matchup itself, the card's main event, Keith Thurman versus Mario Barrios. Keith Thurman hasn't fought in roughly 29 going on 30 months. Will not have fought in 29 going on 30 months the night of the fight in February.
Hasn't had to make weight for a fight in roughly 29 or 30 months.
Hasn't been hit by anybody, hasn't hit anybody in roughly 29 going on 30 months.
That kind of inactivity ruins careers.
Sitting around getting fat, eating ice cream, doing interviews, talking about fights that didn't happen, asserting your relevance in today's welterweight division when in your heart of hearts, you know you...
Are there actually any Keith Thurman fans left out there?
Honest to God, I don't know who the people at Fox and the PBC expect to buy this thing. Better still, ahead of the Manny Pacquiao fight, Keith Thurman suffered a bit of a scare en route to that Manny Pacquiao fight, and Josecito Lopez, who's going to be fighting on this undercard against Abel Ramos. And then, like now, once again, Keith Thurman is coming off of a lengthy stint of inactivity. They've matched him a lot softer this time. I've no doubts they've matched him this soft with that Josecito Lopez fight in mind, because Keith...
Remember, Mario Barrios got knocked out at 140 pounds by a guy who moved up from 130.
And I don't think that's because of how devastating a puncher Gervonta Davis is. That's the same Gervonta Davis that needed 12 rounds to stop a one-legged Yuriorkis Gamboa with a torn Achilles tendon. That's the same Gervonta Davis that couldn't stop Isaac Cruz, we just talked about.
You're saying you think Mario Barrios is chinny?
Well, I'm saying Mario Barrios didn't go through any real acid tests at 140 pounds before moving up to 147. He didn't fight Regis Prograis, Victor Postol.
It's a good thing he didn't. He got knocked out by Gervonta Davis.
Could you imagine what a guy like Regis Prograis would have done to him? Or maybe a Jose Zapata, maybe an Arnold Barboza, a Josh Taylor. Could you imagine what they would have done to a Mario Barrios? Guy who got knocked out by Gervonta Davis.
Seriously.
If there's anything left of Keith Thurman, if there's anything left, Keith Thurman of old, if any inch, any small infinitesimal speck of the fighter that he used to be remains, he should win this fight.
No, he can't just win this fight. He's got to knock this guy out.
When's the last time Keith Thurman knocked anybody out? Honest to God, it's been a few years, it has. If I'm being honest, I can't even remember. But because he's being matched so soft, and because this is a guy who's coming off of being knocked out, this fight going to the cards wouldn't bode well for Keith Thurman. If you can't put away a Mario Barrios, you might as well pack it up and call it a career now.
You're finished.
You're done. And you better get the hell out of here before you get hurt. Tune-up fight or no tune-up fight. This is a guy who's moving up from 140 to 147 pounds, who just got knocked out by a guy who moved up from 130.
Just some things to think about ahead of this big fight.
Finally, Lee Wood versus Mick Conlan is set for March 12th in Nottingham. The winner will receive a shot at Leo Santa Cruz's super featherweight title. That's WBA super. 1.5 months after Matchroom won control of the bout via purse bid, Lee Wood versus Michael Conlan has a date and location. Conlan tells Irish News that the pair will meet on March 12th in Wood's home turf of Nottingham Arena, Nottingham. We're going into the Lions' Den March 12th at the Nottingham Arena, said an excited Conlan. Wood didn't fancy Belfast, and Ben Davison, his coach, didn't fancy Belfast, so we'll bring Belfast to them. I'm happily going to their town, and I'll be ripping the belt off them. Wood, with a pro record of 25 wins, 2 losses, and 15 knockouts, WBA World Featherweight title will be at stake, which guarantees the winner a crack at the winner of Super Champ Leo Santa Cruz versus Keenan Carbajal, set to go down on the undercard of Thurman versus Barrios, which we just talked about. Wonder who that'll end up being.
It doesn't matter. Leo's not going to fight the winner.
I don't see Leo Santa Cruz crossing over to the top rank side of things, or the Matchroom side of things, for that matter, and I don't see the winner of that fight,
Lee Wood or Mick Conlan, fighting on the PBC.
Try and understand that the winner of this fight, regardless of who it is going to have a mandated title shot at Leo Santa Cruz's WBA super title. And if the winner of the fight, regardless of who it is, doesn't like what Leo Santa Cruz's people have to offer,
If they don't like the money, they can't reach a deal, and the fight goes to a purse bid.
at which point, hypothetically speaking, an Eddie Hearn and a Matchroom can step in with that Matchroom wallet and pour more money into the pot. Perhaps place the winning bid, forcing Leo Santa Cruz to either fight on the Matchroom DAZN side of things or vacate.
And I don't think we're going to get that far.
I think that sometime after the Leo Santa Cruz versus Keenan Carbajal fight, sometime after the Mick Conlan versus Lee Wood fight, I think that Leo will make an announcement that he's moving up.
I think he'll move back up to super featherweight and face the winner of Colbert versus Gutierrez, which I think is going to be Chris Colbert.
So that the PBC can keep things PBC, keep everything they have, including their fighters, in-house as much as they can. Lee Wood versus Mick Conlan is an excellent fight. Make no mistake, it's a genuine 50-50 affair between two guys who are in their prime.
And it'd be nice to see Leo in the mix of that conversation.
Technically, he already is. It'd be nice to see Leo in the mix of the scuffle, but when it comes to the scuffle, I don't think there's going to be one between Leo and either one of these guys. I don't. When it comes to Mick Conlan versus Lee Wood, you got a very solid, durable guy, hard-punching guy in Lee Wood, who looked excellent against Con Su in his last outing.
He beat the fucking shit out of Su.
And Mick Conlan, you have a young upstart with a great amateur background.
He looked all right against TJ Doheny.
I gotta give a slight edge to Lee Wood. Because this fight is set to go down in his home turf. He's got home field advantage.
In more ways than one.
In case you forgot, Matchroom won the purse bid. This is going to be a Matchroom show, and out of these two guys, Lee Wood would be the Matchroom fighter. So not only does he have home field advantage as far as the location of the match, but the promotion as well. Mick Conlan's a good boxer. He's a good kid, but he ain't no power puncher. And short of a knockout, funny things can happen on those scorecards when it's Lee Wood.
Listen, I'm not saying that Lee Wood has to rob this guy to win the fight. I'm just saying that home field advantage is a real thing.
There's no sense in being naive about it. In the event that the rounds are close, competitive, to where you could have swung them either way, you guys don't think the judges might swing it the home fighter's way as opposed to the away fighter?
Both guys are young and they're in their prime.
Peak physical condition, peak physical form. I think this might be the biggest puncher that Mick Conlan has faced in his professional career. I think it might be.
Mick's a good boxer, but can you bank on this guy boxing Lee Wood's socks off for 12 rounds?
And it being decisive, so decisive that the judges can't possibly hope to rob this guy.
Listen, I'm not saying that Lee Wood has to rob this guy to win the fight. I'm just saying that home field advantage is a real thing.
Can't stress that enough. Lee Wood's a big, strong kid for this weight.
Yeah, it's hard. Su knows all about that.
Mick Conlan, he's a decent boxer, but he ain't got no punch. He ain't no heavy hitter. He's not heavy-handed. Can he really keep Lee Wood off him if Lee Wood decides to let his hands go and really use that power to get Mick Conlan's respect? I mean, it is a genuine 50-50 fight on paper, but giving a slight edge to Lee Wood here. There are a lot of things working for him. There's not much chance of Mick Conlan knocking him out.